Hi, it's Alicia from the Pretty Brown Eyed Reader. Today I'm coming with my November wrap up. And the first thing I read for November, and since it was nonfiction November, this was an appropriate choice, How to Slowly Kill Yourself and Others by Kiese Laymon. And this is a reissuing of a essay collection that Mr. Laymon had done previously. And he actually had to buy back the rights to the book from a publisher that had made a ton of money off the original one. But he revised the collection and he took out 6 essays, I believe, from the first collection and put in new ones. And they were very timely, including one in mentioning the pandemic as well as the Trump presidency. Anyone that is a fan of his writing will enjoy this. Some of the stories if you read heavy, will sound familiar to you, but he looks at them in a different lens because it is nonfiction. It is about his life and his family's life. They are absolutely brilliant essays, and each one is done in a different way. So I absolutely enjoyed this collection. So I read a few poetry collections, and I'll just briefly talk about them. The Big Book of Exit Strategies by Jamaal. That was awesome. The Animal After Whom Other Animals Are Named by Nicole Sealey. That one was very unique as well, and look for selections for those to come up in the near future. However, I read one that I was just not all that pleased about, and that's The Magical Negro by Morgan Parker. I see people recommend that collection all the time, but I wasn't impressed. And the last collection that I read through during November, which I actually started in September, was the collected poems of Lucille Clifton. She is a master. This collection spans 1965 to 2010 when she passed away, and it was just like reading through history and reading through movements and all type of artistic expressions, and it was just amazing. Some of the poems had not been anthologized before, so it was like reading something, just discovering new things about her and her writing. That was supposed to be our September discussion on Instagram with a special count of double. Her name is KB, and she passed away, so we didn't get a chance to read the last selection she had picked out, and her presence is definitely missed on Bookstagrammer. Those of you who follow her, and you know that it hasn't been the same the last couple of months. So moving on, I also had a chance to read through, and have been reading through for several months, a short story collection by Zora and Hurston that was recently published, and that's Hitting a Straight Lick with a Crooked Stick. And I have been following along with Curtis at I Found This Great Books podcast. He's reading through all of Zora Neale Hurston's short stories, and about every week or so he posts a podcast talking about the next story in the collection. I also had the awesome opportunity of going on the podcast and talking to him about one of the short stories, and I will leave a link to that podcast, and I hope you'll check it out. And also read Zora Neale Hurston. Her short stories are funny, sad, every emotion you want to think of, Zora can bring it out. Next thing I completed for November was also a Read So Lit selection that Dee Dee has with her Patreon group, and we read Freeman, and that's by Leonard Pitts Jr. And I have a library copy, and so it is the story of did it mean to be free after slavery ended, and you follow really a love story of a gentleman named Sam and his wife Tilda, and what Sam will go through to get to Tilda, as well as what Tilda has been going through in the process. And it's really an epic story. So as they work to be reunited, they will meet and encounter several different individuals There's so many minor characters in the book, but they all bring layers to the story. So if you haven't read Leonard Pitts Jr., you are missing out. Freeman is excellent. Check it out. So my last read of the month was Wild Seed, and that's by Octavia Butler. And I read it because it was the selection for the Octavia E. Butler Slow Read Along. And it also makes my 4th Octavia Butler book for this year. Y'all know I'm not a science fiction fan. I'm not used to Afrofuturism, all that stuff. But I have enjoyed reading her books this year, especially because every time I've read it with the group, and so that helps me understand the book. But this one was very intriguing. It's about a woman who doesn't die, who just keeps on living, and her name is Yanwu. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And then she hooks up with another entity that doesn't die. His name is Doro. And they're both creating communities and families, but with 2 different intentions. He wants to dominate her. She just wants to have people that don't fit in to have a place to be. So it's a very interesting story. It's very short, not too short, but it's not a long book. So it was very good to get in and read that. And if you've read Wild Seed, please put something about it in the comments, because it helps me to be able to actually discuss her works. So I would love to hear your comments about Wild Seed. So that is my reading for November. I hope you had a great reading month, and I will talk to you soon.